Ozzy Osbourne is the legendary Prince of Darkness, but you already know that. It's why you're here. I feel it too, man. As of the day of this recording, Ozzy Osbourne passed away 2 days ago on July 22nd, 2025. Just over 2 weeks after performing at his Back to the Beginning show in Villa Park, Birmingham with Black Sabbath. We've lost an amazing human being and an iconic performer. So before we dive into this guitar lesson for Mama, I'm Coming Home, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge Ozzy. His music has inspired countless musicians, and his influence will continue to resonate for generations. This lesson is dedicated to his memory. Alright, let's get into it. For this lesson, we'll be learning the intro verse guitar riff of Mama, I'm Coming Home. The song was originally played on a 12-string guitar, but I'll be demonstrating it on a 6-string steel string acoustic guitar. The tuning for this is down a half step from standard, so make sure to tune your guitar first before we get started. To help you follow along, I'll be showing the tabs on the screen at a slower tempo. This will make it easier to see the finger placements and get the timing down. The main riff of this song is iconic and a fantastic workout for your picking hand. It's full of string crossing and quick shifts, so let's break it down measure by measure. Alright, measure 1 can be fairly tricky, and on a steel string acoustic like this it can be hard to bend this G string. But let me start you out with a pinky on the 12th fret of the first string, and your ring finger on the 12th fret of the second string, and then I'll place the middle finger on the 11th fret of the G string and the index on the 10th fret of the G string. That way I've got both there for leverage so I can push up on that to bend. So put these down here first, and then do a pre-bend, full like this here, before you start the picking. We'll jump over to the 9th fret of the G string at the end of there. As we get into these next 4 measures, it's going to be helpful to visualize the melody line that's being used on the G string. So let's walk through that first. We're going to start at the 9th fret of the G string here, then to the 8th fret, then to the 6th, 4th, to the 2nd, to the 1st, then the melody line moves to the D string at the 4th fret, then to the 2nd fret. So keep that melody line in mind as we descend on this, because we're going to be using the open E string and the open B string between the notes of the melody line. Moving to the second measure now, precision is key here, so place your fingers carefully, practice it slowly at first, and then build up speed. We're going to start it off on the G string at the 9th fret with our ring finger, and the picking that I'm going to use is going to be down on the 3rd string, up on the open 1st string, up on the open 2nd string, and then down again on the G string at the 8th fret, up again on the open E string, up again on the open B string, and then down again on the G string at the 8th fret. In the third measure, this can be a little tricky, so focus on your left hand position to make it seamless. I'm going to be using my middle finger after we just left off on the 8th fret, and I'm going to move it over to the 6th fret of the G string now, and using the same picking pattern that we did in measure 2. On the 6th fret, down, up on the E, up on the B, then I'm going to shift to the 4th fret of the G string and do a downstroke, then up on the E, open, and up on the open B again, and down on the G string at the 4th fret again. Pause the video after each measure here if you need to get some practice in. Let's move on to the 4th measure now, and we just left off at the 4th fret of the G string. I'm going to be moving my middle finger to the 2nd finger of the G string now with the same picking pattern as before. Downstroke on the G string, up on the open E, up on the open B, moving to the 1st fret of the G string with a downstroke, then up on the open E, up on the open B, and a downstroke on the G string. For For the fifth measure, practice your picking to keep the melody flowing smoothly. We're going to start it out this time on the D string with our pinky at the 4th fret, and I'm going to pick that with the downstroke just like before. Up on the open E, up on the open B, then to the 2nd fret of the D string with the downstroke, then up on the open E, up on the open B, and we'll finish it off with a downstroke on the open E string, 6th string. Alright, it's time to follow along now, so get your guitar set up. We're going to practice measures 2, 3, 4, and 5 at 50% of the goal tempo. Let's go. As we increase the speed here, think about the rhythmic count of each measure. We're using straight eighth notes, but there's one eighth note missing in each measure at beat 3. So the count that I'm thinking of as I go through this is 1 and 2 and 4 and each measure is like that. So if you stick with that rhythmic flow, it's going to make it easier to increase the speed. Now let's try this together at 60% of the goal tempo. Pause the video if you need to keep practicing at one of these slower tempos, but if you're ready to level up with me, let's try it at 70% of the goal tempo now. Alright, the practice you just went through is a 4-measure cycle. The second time that Zach does this, though, he adds some chord strums in the 3rd and 4th measure of the cycle. So when we're down at the 2nd fret of the G string and the 1st fret of the G string, he's going to strum the first 3 strings with that chord there. So let me demonstrate that. Then the next measure he does the same thing that chord there, which is part of an E chord. E major would look like this here, but he's just gotten rid of the middle finger and is using it there at the D string. So you'll be at the 2nd fret of the D string and the 1st fret of the G string and strum the first 4 strings down. So let me demonstrate that with the chord strums now. So let's practice together measures 6, 7, 8, and 9 at 70% of the goal tempo. Those 4 measures that we just practiced are repeated for measures 10, 11, 12, and 13, but then for measures 14, 15, 16, and 17, there's a new riff. Let's look at that now. Measure 14, we're going to use an A sus2 chord here, which looks a lot like an A minor chord without the index finger. So we'll have your middle finger at the D string on the 2nd fret, and your ring finger on the G string at the 2nd fret as well, and the picking pattern will be on the A string down, skip the B string, up stroke on the E string, up on the B, up on the G, and up on the D string. Down, 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 up, 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 up. That gets repeated twice. Measures 16 and 17 are a little bit more complicated than the other parts here. We're going to start it off with an E chord, just like we did at the beginning of the intro. We're going to move this middle finger down to the D string at the 2nd fret, and this index finger at the 1st fret of the G string. Now the picking pattern I'm going to use on this is down, up, down, up, 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 down, and slide to 2 into measure 17. Measure 17, we just slid into fret 2 of the G string, and then I'm going to pick up on the E string, up on the B string, and down on the 2nd fret of the G string to slide into fret 4, then up on the E string and up on the B string again. So sliding in from 1 to 2. Measures 14 through 17 slowly. Now let's practice measures 14 through 17 at 50% of the goal tempo. Now let's try it at 60% of the goal tempo. If you need to get some more practice in at these slower tempos, pause the video or rewind it now and get that going before we move up now to 70% of the goal tempo. Now it's time for the big challenge. Let's take it from the beginning of measure 1 all the way to measure 25 at 70% of the goal tempo. Alright, practice makes perfect, so take it slow with each measure, don't rush it, and build your skills step by step. For extra help, check the resources linked in the description below. Once again, this lesson is dedicated to Ozzy Osbourne and his family. His music lives on through us, the fans and the players who keep his legacy alive. So thanks for joining me today, and keep rocking. And check out one of these videos next.